instructor in this video. We're going to learn about applying materials, colors and finishes to our individual parts. So right here we have a multi-body part. So there's two individual bodies. And here they are right over here in the tree. You can see I've got this one here. And that one there. And we can apply materials to either one of them. We can also color the individual faces. Or the entire body. And we can do a whole bunch of things here. To get started, what we want to do is let's go ahead and just apply a general material. So here in the material drop-down, I can right-click on it and say edit material. Or I can choose from some of my favorites. So if I choose something like nickel, both the parts will change to kind of a nickel color. And the mass properties of nickel have now been added to these parts. So if I come up here to evaluate, I can measure the mass properties. So it's saying, hey, these are going to be 24 pounds. Or 24.35 pounds. Pretty heavy, right? And all this information here. As far as the density, the volume, the surface area, this all is tied to these parts. So how about if I switch to a different material? So instead of nickel, let's go ahead and change this to rubber. The color changed, now they look like rubber. And let's go up here to mass properties. And now, instead of like 20-something pounds, now we're a little bit under 3 pounds. So you can see, by adding a material, we get the real mechanical properties of that material. What if you didn't want this to be this color? What if you didn't like that rubber color? So you can also go over here to the right-hand side here. And where you have appearances, scenes, and diesels. So under appearances, you can see we've got plastic, metal, painted, rubber and so on. So we have rubber over here as well. But these are purely appearances. They're not going to change the physical properties of the parts themselves. They're just going to change the way they look. So even though we know this is actually made out of rubber, I can go ahead and say, hey, I actually want this thing to look like polished bronze. Drag that out to this body here. And I can choose to apply it to both the parts. Or the entire part. Or I can choose the individual body. Or I can choose the actual feature. Or I can choose the face. So I can apply this any way I want. But I have to choose one of these. So I'm going to choose the body. So now this body, even though it still isn't actually made out of rubber, it does look actually like a different material. What about a face itself? If you have a face like this one here, you can actually come on this little in context on here. And click on appearance. And you can look at what's happening here. Or you can click on it. And choose this little beach ball at the top, edit appearance, and you can change the color a bit. I can say, hey, I want that to be red. Let's make that face red, click OK. And now you've got a red face. On a rubber block and over here, you've got the entire block. With a different appearance to it. So multiple ways you can add and adjust color. In fact, we can add textures, so let's go over here one more time. If we click on the appearance, come down here to organic. And there we can see we have wood. Inside of wood, we've got cherry or mahogany. Grab like a mahogany. Throw that out there. And let's go ahead and apply that to just this part here. Or both the parts, it works fine. And you can see here that now kind of the texture. And look, you can actually see the wood grain in there. And it looks pretty good, right? Also over here is the beach ball. And we called it the display manager. If you click on it, it's controlling the appearances. And you can see, we've got that polished bronze being applied. We've got a color being applied. And we have this unfinished mahogany being applied. And if you don't like any one of those things, you can actually just delete it. In fact, below that, it'll show you which part it's applying to. You can sort it by history. Or alphabetical or hierarchy, so you have a bunch of different options of how you can work with and see these appearances. In fact, you can copy and paste them from one part to the next. This works both with parts as well as assemblies. If you want to add different coloring or different materials, different parts, you can. But just keep in mind, anything we add from the right-hand side of the screen here is an appearance. It doesn't change the physical properties. If you want to change the actual body, where the material's weight will be different, you do need to apply it over here. On the left-hand side in the feature manager, where you're going to be choosing that material and applying it across the part. So both these parts will still have the weight of rubber. If you go up here, take a look at them, it's still the 2.86 pounds. Even though this is looking like it's made out of bronze. And this is made out of wood, it still weighs exactly the same as it did before, made out of rubber. So those are the major features for working with and adding appearances and textures and materials to your parts inside of SolidWorks.